Alright, welcome to my presentation on dashboard interaction mechanics in Limbus Company. First, let's talk about Picard Captain Ishmail. Picard Captain Ishmail dishes out buffs to adjacent allies with her first two skills and commands the ally to her immediate right with assist attack. I really like how she interacts with the dashboard because there's just so much to build around. Defense level up benefits, well, everybody, but it particularly benefits Faust and Gregor. Offense level up benefits everyone, but especially benefits counter-focused IDs like Middle Sister Dawn. And assist attack really wants to be run with Pride IDs to have a higher chance of triggering and have the ability to make use of the 2 Pride power up. Next, we have Blade Lineage Mentor Mero and Blade Lineage also Sinclair. While you might not think of them as interacting with the dashboard, they do in my book, albeit a bit abnormally. Sinclair only affects the last coin of the last skill in the chain with his passive, while BL Mero goes from the rightmost BL ID to the leftmost BL ID when applying his swordplay with the homeland rending or penetrating with his skill 1 or 2. The way Mero works lets him run the extremely low speed BL members alongside other non-BL IDs, and safely know that they will almost always be receiving his buffs because they'll consistently be on the right side of the dashboard, which I think is a cool team building thing even if it's not really relevant. Third up is LCB Eung. There's not much to say about him, I'll be honest. It's 4 Gloom Resonance for 1 damage up on 2 allies, which is not great. 4 Resonance is a pretty large number, and overall doesn't compare to the other 4 Resonance passives like 7 Eung's plus 2 Clash Power. For LCB ID standards, it's far from bad though, looking at you, Sinclair, because LCB Eung has a surprisingly high speed range of 4 to 8, you are also almost always getting value of this when it activates, since there should be 2 or more allies to the right of him. Fourth is Ring Uus and Gcorp Uus. Ring Uus is pretty minor, just 1 next turn haste to adjacent allies on her skill 3. It's a nice effect, especially when you're with allies who have speed conditionals. But speaking of nice for allies with speed conditionals is Gcorp Uus' 2-slot resonance passive that gives 2 haste to herself and adjacent allies next turn. This can be really nice. It's a great support tool, especially for allies with speed conditionals, as I mentioned before. She also applies her buffs to the ally with the lowest speed, meaning the ally on the right of the dashboard, but if you're a dashboard interactions purist, then you probably don't consider that in the same category. I like this from a team building perspective because you can build a team around meeting speed conditionals with their help, while consistently buffing an ID who will almost always or actually always be the slowest member of the team. Fifth is Sinclair and Faust. There's not really much to say here, unfortunately. They're another example of a supportive apply buffs to adjacent allies unit, which is the most common type of dashboard interaction. Faust's passive is generally more useful in Sinclair, I'd say, because it is owned, and Gregor is a unit that exists. And as an ID, she's definitely more useful, but this video is not about that. Now, sixth is LCB Eung, and there is actually a lot to say here, surprisingly. Amongst dashboard interactions, hers is unique, and I think it's really interesting, and I hope we see more of it. Eung's skill 1 and skill 2 gain coin power if the next skill on the dashboard does blunt damage. This obviously incentivizes running her with blunt damage. Some people might not like this limitation, but I really like restrictions that breed creativity, and I think this is one of those. It makes a question go from what units is she good with to what blunt units is she good with. And I don't think that's too restrictive to be unfun. Continuing along this talk of incentives, let's talk about Middle Mero. His dashboard interaction only benefits Envy, which along with the rest of his kit incentivizes running him in an Envy team. This is basically more of the same from the last slide, since I like dashboard interactions that incentivize running IDs with specific characteristics together. This is why I like Gcorp Uus' haste much more than Faust's defense level up, because there are plenty of speed-based IDs, but defense level up is really only actively used in Gregor's kit and sort of in Harpooner Heathcliff's kit. Finally, we're on to the dashboard interacting ego. Most of these are Mero, which is interesting. Regret and Pursuance do technically interact with the dashboard, but it's really just to make it so that every skill of his doesn't cause the effect to occur. As for Fluid Sec Don Quixote, the dashboard interaction is just to determine the targeting of the effect. I do like this. I'm always a fan of making effects controlled instead of random. Roseate Desire Hong Lu is the exact same thing. And Electric Screaming is basically Middle Mero 2, where it incentivizes running a Mero with Envy alongside an Envy Residence team. In conclusion, I like dashboard interactions and how they affect team building, and I hope they do more unique things like LCB Eung in the future. Depending on the nature of your dashboard interaction, the units it will affect are inherently random. So minimizing your randomness and maximizing its effectiveness is something I personally find really compelling in team building. Image credits are in the description, like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. I plan to release more soon enough. Oh, and shout out Electric Wind Girlfriend for this video style.